Italian Football Podcast.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Italian Football Podcast, the official podcast of Football Italia. I'm Carlo Garganese, joined as always by Nima Savali. On today's show, we will review the weekend Serie A action. But before that, we have, unfortunately, a new Serie A refereeing scandal after, well, what many are calling an earthquake involving Serie A referee Gianluca Rocchi struck at the weekend. Some are calling it Calciopoli 2.0. We'll run down what has come out so far. Inter are potentially implicated, but on the pitch, they have not yet won the Scudetto after they drew 2-2 against Torino, a late comeback from Torino. Napoli, will remain champions for one more week after thrashing Cremonese. Juventus Milan was a board draw, which means that Roma and Como have closed to within 3 points of Juventus for that fourth Champions League spot. We'll also talk about Italy and the World Cup as we potentially approach decision day of whether Iran can participate at the tournament. The FIFA Congress, which takes place on Thursday, a decision could be taken then. So we'll discuss that, what will happen at the Congress, and also debate whether Italy should accept a spot if they were to be offered it. And we'll also have our usual Baggio, Premface, and some horrendous Serie ASS of the week. Inter are big offenders again there. But so are Juventus, actually. They're competing against each other there as well. If you want to support the Italian Football Podcast, receive all of our content that we do throughout the week without any ads, including our free Monday review show, our weekly Q&A episode, where we answer all the questions from our patrons, plus Thursday midweek review show, plus interviews, post-match reaction, and much, much more, then patreon.com/TIP, $3.99 a month to be a subscriber. You can also watch our free episodes and shorter clips on YouTube. You can become a patron on our YouTube memberships, youtube.com/@itarfootpod. And you can also be a paid subscriber on Spotify. So wherever you consume us, Spotify, Apple, iTunes, YouTube, we'd really appreciate if you give us a follow, subscribe to us, like us, give us a 5-star rating, and all of that really helps us to grow. And if you've not done so already, follow us on our social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. Okay, let's get into today's show. Okay, right. Unfortunately, we have to start with something I'd rather not discuss at all, but here we go again on Italy's road to destroying itself just 3 weeks after failing to qualify for the World Cup. What can we do to destroy Italian football even more? Oh, I know. Let's all start another scandal. So in a nutshell, this is how it is in a nutshell. Then I'll let Nima, basically, we'll do this kind of newsy today because it's a bit too early to kind of have opinions and everything and start, reacting all wildly as everybody does in Italian football. So we'll just go through it kind of like this is what's come out. And then, in future, as more comes out hopefully not, but as more comes out in the coming days and weeks, we can then start kind of reacting to it and breaking it all down a little bit more. But in a nutshell, on Saturday, the news broke that Serie A and Serie B referee designated Gianluca Rocchi is under investigation for participation in sports fraud on suspicion of having influenced various VAR decisions. The two cited are Udinese versus Parma 2024-25, Inter versus Hellas in 2023-24. Rocchi has also been accused, according to reports, of having chosen referees favoured by Inter during the 2024-25 season. Rocchi has since suspended himself. And the seriousness of how, let's say, the scandal is being treated by the authorities or politically, let's say, the Minister of Sport, Andrea Abodi, said, I quote, "There can be no avoiding consequences." So that's the story in a nutshell. Nima, you can outline now just in a bit more detail what's come out so far and like what the official reactions have been when it comes to Rocchi, the lawyers, the clubs, and kind of like the political figures, and kind of what will happen next. If you could just kind of go through that, just explain it as simply as you can for everyone.
So, yeah, this is not that easy to explain, but this kind of all started in a letter sent by Rocca, who's assistant referee, a linesman. He sent a letter in May in May 2025 to the FIGC's prosecutor, Kine, that there was Domenico Rocca on alleged intervention in the VAR booth by designator Rocchi. According to the letter, there were two things. It wasn't just one game. It was Udinese Parma, and according to the letter from Rocca, sorry, it doesn't help that they all have similar names either. So please apologies for that. It also includes, and I'm reading from the letter, the Inter-Roma game, which says a serious mistake, which when Bisek was not when Inter were not awarded a penalty, and he says it's a serious mistake that probably determines the loss of the Scudetto of Inter in favor of Napoli. That's part of the letter. Kine, on the other hand, he released a statement saying, since some press outlets have been spreading untruthful news with no adherence to the real version of events over the last few hours, I would like to confirm that on May 21st, 2025, I received only the complaint signed by the assistant referee Domenico Rocca on the alleged intervention in the VAR booth by designator Rocchi during the Udinese Parma match. Following this complaint, in full compliance with the Code of Sporting Justice, a sporting investigation was immediately opened, hearing all those involved and all those with possible knowledge of the facts alleged by the accuser. As a result of these investigative acts and the testimonies given by those present, no disciplinary conduct was brought against any member of the Italian Referees Association. As it expressed in the current Code of Sporting Justice, the prosecutor's office therefore proposed to the General Prosecutor's Office for Sport at CONI, the Italian Olympic Committee, for the disciplinary proceedings to be dismissed in July 2025. Given the investigation that was carried out and given the content of the statements made by the subjects that were audited, this proposal was agreed by the General Prosecutor's Office for Sport. With regard to any new facts that may require sporting disciplinary measures, which the Public Prosecutor's Office in Milan is dealing with, I can confirm that I'm already in contact with the investigative bodies in charge of the criminal proceedings, and that I have already taken steps as of yesterday to formally request, where possible, the documents relating to the acts of the criminal investigation, and will start and possibly reopen an investigation if there are new and decisive pieces of evidence. So this is a criminal investigation for now. It's not a sporting one. And therefore, it's interesting. So we need to move forward and say, okay, what is it that's so what games are we talking about then? Well, according to Gazzetta dello Sport, it's two Serie A matches, Udinese Parma and Bologna Inter. It's a Coppa Italia return leg semi-final match, Inter against Milan, and a Serie B match, Salernitana against Modena. There are some reports stating that there's the VAR's behavior, or what happened in Inter Verona in 23-24 is also the one being discussed. The two people that, for now, and this is a developing story, so please take this into account whenever you're listening to this. It's Monday, the 27th of April. The two people that are being investigated are Gianluca Rocchi and Andrea Gervasoni. Rocchi is the designator of the referees in Serie A and Serie B. Gervasoni is the VAR supervisor. Both of them have been handed notices that they will be questioned, and that they're being investigated. And both of them have auto-suspended themselves. Rocchi is expected to speak to the investigators on April 30th. Now, what exactly is being what is sports fraud? Well, I'm reading the statute now, and it's important when you read statutes that it's not easy to translate statutes. But basically, it reads like this: to offer or promise money or other advantages or of useful advantages to any of the participants in a sporting competition organized by a federation that is recognized by the Italian Olympic Committee or other sporting entities recognized by the state, in order to achieve a result that is different from what would follow from the correct and fair development of the competition, as well as or the person or persons commit other fraudulent acts with the same purpose. And this is you get, if you are convicted of this, you have to recluse yourself from 2 to 6 years, and you get a 1,000 to a 4,000 euro, a fine. We don't know that, as I said, we don't know if there's anyone else involved in this. And the issue here is when Udinese played Parma, where Parma were fighting to avoid relegation, there was a situation where the VAR looked at something that happened to then Parma centre-back Boton Balog. They went through it. The VAR at the time, Daniele Paterna, they considered that it wasn't a penalty, and then someone tapped on the window of the VAR booth. Paterna turned, looking at whoever it was, and appeared to mouth, "Is it a penalty?" And then Maresca was informed to bring play to a halt. They carried out an on-field review. Penalty was awarded. Tovan scored. Udinese won. The thing is this, that the autonomy of the decision-making of the VAR is enshrined in the protocol of the VAR itself. And so someone knocking on a window and telling the VAR to change it would break that autonomy. And this knock allegedly came from Rocky. Now, we don't know what's happened since then. What we do know is that there's been an investigation into this done by the the public prosecutor's office in Milan into a criminal investigation, and they have found something. And they have notified Gervasoni and Rocky that they are being investigated for committing sporting fraud. And that's what we know today. We don't know more than that. No clubs or anyone else aside from these two are officially being questioned or being investigated. As of yet, something Inter confirmed yesterday, that Marotta said, none of us have received anything. We've not heard anything about it. We've read about it in the media, just like you. So this is kind of where we are for now. And it's
what about the responses of like Rocky's lawyer, and
yes, Rocky's
and if you could
lawyer,
just read out also like what the response of Marotta was, like what his actual words were, that would be good.
He said precisely that. He said, "We learned about this from reading about it in the press. We were surprised by this. We don't have a list of referees we like and dislike. Absolutely not. We suffered refereeing mistakes, which was confirmed by the referees and everyone at the time in the 1-0 defeat to Roma last April. We know that we have acted with the utmost integrity, and that is the most important thing, which should put everyone's mind at ease. I'm not worried. We have no part in this matter, and we won't have a part in it in the future." That's what he said. Rocky's lawyer said he doesn't understand the allegations because no one else has been charged, and he doesn't understand who he has committed the sporting fraud with, or with what intention, or whatever. But then again, we have to wait and see. We don't know who else is being charged with this, but surely there has to be someone else. Otherwise, you don't open up a criminal investigation into sporting fraud. But Simonelli, the president of Serie A, he said, "Hasty judgments or conclusions of any kind are out of place whilst we await the outcome of the investigation to establish the truth." He said that he doesn't believe that the case should be called into question the intellectual honesty and work of an entire system, adding that if it should transpire that someone has acted wrongly, it will be right that they face the consequences, but under no circumstances is it permissible to cast doubt on the credibility of the system and the integrity of the league. And then we have so this is where we are. And
Abadi's words were kind of, I thought, were
but he's a minister. Yeah, but he's a minister. But then again, unless if he's actively participating in this in this investigation, then he's committing quite a lot of serious infringement. So I don't understand. He has to say as a minister of sport that we have to ensure the integrity of sport, and he has to do that. It's kind of under his folder. He's the minister of sport, so it kind of falls under his premise. But we should remember that there is supposed to take place a presidential election for the FIGC. Rocky, I have been calling for Rocky to be removed for 5 years because I think he's incompetent. And I've explained in great details for 3-4 years why I think he's incompetent. So I don't want to go through that again. But there's also a power struggle and a power vacuum going on for the lead of the Italian FA, as well as who takes over becomes the new Serie A designator when a new president of the FIGC is appointed. This is where we are. And the Italian Referee Association itself, which is the body to which the National Referees Committee answers, and that the National Referees Committee is the organization that Rocky has been, he's been appointed by them to take care of the Serie A and the Serie B and to appoint referees for that. The Italian Referees Association itself is a complete mess, because in 2022, its president, Alfredo Trentalange, had to resign after their own prosecutor, Rosario Donofrio, was arrested and sentenced to 5 years and 8 months as part of a large-scale international drug trafficking operation.
Remember that? Yeah.
So, and his successor has been banned, Antonio Zappi, has been banned from holding office for 13 months after allegedly pressuring the referee designated for Serie C, Maurizio Ciampi, and Serie D, Alessandro Pizzi, to resign in order to pave way for Orsato and Braschi to replace them. And on Tuesday, a decision will be taken by the Sports Appeals Board, over whether or not to uphold Zappi's ban. So this is a power struggle within the Italian Referees Association. It's a power struggle within the FIGC, and the alleged accusations, which haven't even been formalized because the people involved haven't been heard, but just been told on notice that they're being investigated, is
this is what Italy does in terms of what happens next. In terms of the investigation,
we have to wait because now Kiner, who is the prosecutor, who's the lead investigator of the FIGC, he's asked the public prosecutor's office for information on what they're basing this on, and if they have new information, to hand them over so that they can start the sporting investigation into this. Rocky's supposed to be interrogated or questioned rather, not interrogated, questioned rather, on the 30th of April, and he's got a lawyer and he will turn up, and then he will be faced during that questioning. We will know what based on what they ask, we will know what is being alleged here, and by whom, and where, and when. But right now, we don't know anything more than this, and so it's impossible for me to answer the question what can happen. All I will say is that this is the end of Rocky, which is a good thing. He should never have held that office to begin with. He's not fit for purpose, and he will, he'll kill. It's hilarious to that, and I mean that in a sarcastic way, that this is someone who could potentially kill Italian football. This is someone I've been screaming. I've been screaming for years that he should go. I've been exonerated here, I feel.
All I want to say is this. I don't want to pass opinion on this until more comes out. And even when more comes out, I don't even really want to pass opinion either, because I just hate all this stuff. But all I'll say is, again, it's another awful spectacle. for Italian football. We're at the lowest point our football's ever been at. We've sat here since Italy a month ago now. Italy failed to qualify for a third straight World Cup. And we sat here and I've cried louder than anyone about how the whole system needs to be torn up. We need mass reforms. We need everybody out. And then here we go with a big scandal. And whether it's Calciopoli 2.0, if you want to call it that, or whatever, if that's what people are calling it, if that's what the optics are on it, it doesn't really matter what it is. If the optics are what they are, we saw what.
Well, happened. That's exactly it, Carlo. That's the problem. This notion that reality doesn't matter, but the perception of reality is more important.
Of course, it is.
This is the problem. Reality should matter.
Well, it doesn't. That's the world. That's life for you. Optics always matter, and the optics.
It's insane.
The optics are like they were like 20 years ago when the Italian football got destroyed with Calciopoli. This will destroy. This will finish it off. So the only.
But the thing is, I forgot to mention one. The
only good thing that could possibly come from it is if this leads to everybody in the system being cast out and a new system, then this would be a good thing. But that's not going to happen because it will just be a few little bits and little chess pieces on the board will maybe get flicked off the board, but the rest of them will still remain there. So
I forgot to mention one thing. There's one thing that has been discussed, and that is that according to media reports, but this is not coming from ANSA, which is the official national press agency, and it's not coming from anyone official in official capacity. But there are several reports saying that allegedly Inter didn't want Daniele Doveri. Lest we forget, Daniele Doveri is the referee who everyone in Juventus, Milan, and Napoli Twitter claim is pro-Inter. Because of that, every time he has an Inter game, they post that photo of him at the airport with the Inter gift bag. So apparently, allegedly, this is the guy that Inter did not want to referee them. And there was apparently a secret meeting held at the San Siro between Marotta and Rocchi, where it was agreed, allegedly, that Doveri should not officiate Inter anymore, and that if he were to be appointed to officiate Inter against Milan in the return leg of the semi-final, and that Inter wanted Colombo to officiate the Bologna game, that this was agreed then. There's only two problems here. Doveri was in charge of an Inter game just a few days later with Parma. And the Colombo, who was appointed the referee for the Bologna game, is someone. If you remember the winner that Orsolini scored, beautiful goal, that's from a throw-in that was taken 5 meters down from where the ball went out. And so I'm struggling to follow the coherence here in the news report.
Well, the only thing.
It's 2 games that Inter lost. And they wanted to not have a referee, which was then handed to them anyway. And the referee that they allegedly wanted instead made a mistake that cost them.
Yeah, it is quite amusing. It is amusing, but the only thing is
it makes no sense to me right now. At this stage, nothing makes sense.
It's amusing, but the only thing is that, as you'll know, the outcome doesn't matter when it comes to whether if this happened. I'm not saying it did, but if they changed the referee, what the outcome was is irrelevant. It's like planting a bomb that doesn't. It's like planting a bomb that doesn't, like Condor said. If you plant a bomb and it doesn't go off, you still get done for planting the bomb.
But it's a mess. It's an absolute mess because at least so far, no one, like the information that's come out, I don't think there's enough meat on the bones to talk about.
Well, there isn't. Well, that's why I think we have to wait and let's see what comes out of this, and then we cover. All I wanted to say, the only opinion I want to say on this matter is this just kills Italian football even more, regardless of if there's anything in it, if there's something in it, if there's been something has gone on that's been corrupt, regardless of whether there's corruption or no corruption, it kills Italian football. This isn't good for anything, for anyone. And when we talk about reforms, this isn't the kind of reforms we're talking about. We're talking about actual But this is what Italian football does.
Yeah, but the problem here is also, I think, that this goes back for many years, and that is that referees are not allowed to or recuse themselves from certain games. Like, I understand if you recuse yourself because you have family at a club, then I can understand that you say, you know what, I have a family member who's a player or works for this club. I don't want to be the referee of their games. That's fine. But then equally, you shouldn't be able to referee matches where that club, the rivals of that club for an important sporting event are participating either. That's not happened.
There's a simple solution to this, Nima. There's a simple solution, and we can skip all the debate on this. You just have what they had in 1984-85 when Verona, funnily enough, won the title, and Torino comes second. Just have a lottery. At the start of the season, you do a lottery for every single game who the referees are, and that's it. Simple. And if you want to have the so-called higher level referees, which you think need to be the ones that referee the bigger games, then for the big matches, for the Juventus Inter, for Juventus Milan, Inter Milan, the big games, just have a pool of 4 or 5 referees that are your so-called best referees, and do the lottery with just those 4 or 5 referees for those games, and do a lottery. Simple. Then you eliminate all of this. And that's it. You'll never get this problem ever again.
Well, you
might get the problem with the VAR knocking on the booth, but the whole thing about, well, who chose the referee and, refereeing designators, which has come up so many times. It was there 20 years ago. Now it is here now. So, that's done. You'll never, ever have that problem. It's simple.
Well, the problem is that they did try the lottery thing, and it turned out that the lottery was rigged. So they, as we know.
Well, I'm sure they can do a way of unrigging it. I'm sure they can do a way of unrigging it.
Yeah, no, listen. The problem is that I think the problem with all of this is that you can't. There's too many factions. There's too many. It's factionalism. You have various groupings and interests that all compete with one another for power and to set up a system, and that is what is at heart here, because there is a power vacuum after Gravina resigned. Rocchi, everyone has been calling for his resignation because he's made a hash of his job. There's a power vacuum, and when there is a power vacuum, you're going to have people fighting for that power. And this is where we are with that. I don't know how do you fix this.
I'm not going to sit there. This is Italian football. You can go through.
I'm not going to sit there.
You can go through every single scandal. Nima, you can go through every single Italian football scandal from today, including this one, to in the past. And politics have played a part in every single one. Whoever's had the most power at that time are the ones that have generally come out the best in that scandal at that time. Every single one, whether it's Juventus, whether it's Inter, whether it's Milan, whoever's on the receiving end of the punishments, whoever's been had the most power at that time, and there's been power vacuums, are the ones that have benefited, rightly or wrongly. That's not saying those decisions in those scandals were right or wrong. I'm saying the one that wins is always the one that has the power at that time. And you can go to every scandal from this one to Agnelli Gate, to Plus Valenza Gate, to the Calciopoli, to Totonero, every single one you can go, and that you have a look at who won that scandal, and it's the one that had the power, and the one that lost is the one that didn't have power at that time, and there was a power vacuum. Like you said, that's Italian football, and that's a big problem with Italian football, because it shouldn't be decided on who has the power at that time. It should be decided on only on the facts. But anyway, look, we have to move on, Nima. Well, listen, I'm sure we'll get to discuss this again, because I'm sure this won't go away. So we'll have.
Oh, this isn't going away, but we need more information, because right now nothing makes sense. There's no logic to any of this, and I'm sure that the public prosecutor's office, which is not in any way connected to the sporting bodies of Italian sports, it's a criminal investigation for now. They obviously, in order to start an investigation and start these proceedings, there's a lowest threshold that has to be cleared, and they obviously have more information and more evidence in order to start this investigation. Where this lands, where there haven't been any raids or anything as we know, but Rocky's going to be questioned, and I think over the next few days we will know more.
Yeah, we have to see. We have to see what they have, what's on the wiretaps, who's on the wiretaps. Then we'll know more. We can't. It's too early to say now.
Oh, the good old nothing more. Nothing.
I know. There's no such. The word wiretap. I know the word wiretap.
We're back here again. The most it's like if you're teaching vocabulary to people, Italian football vocabulary, it's fuorigioco, calcio di punizione, it's calcio d'angolo, intercettazioni.
That fucking word wiretap. Eh? Right.
We're here again. We're here again. We're so back, people.
I know. Listen. We're 30 minutes into today's show. We're going to talk a little bit about the games now, and then we'll go on to Italy. We're going to go through the games pretty quickly, Nima, because there isn't actually that much to talk about on most of them. So yeah, apologies on that. But first of all, Torino Inter. Listen, Inter 2-0 up. Torino bring it back to 2-2 with a kind of a late comeback. It doesn't really matter because Inter are now 10 points clear. They need 3 points to win the title from the last 4 games. So if they beat Parma, they're champions. Equally, if Napoli lose to Como on the Saturday, Inter play on the Sunday against Parma, which you're going to. If Napoli lose on the Saturday, then Inter are champions on the Saturday. If Napoli draw or win against Como, then it goes to the Sunday. If Napoli draw against Como, then Inter just need to draw to win.
No, exactly. Inter
because they'll be 10 points ahead with 3 games left. Yeah. If otherwise, if Napoli draw, if Napoli win, then Inter need to win against Parma to win the Scudetto.
Exactly.
So that's where we're at. Other than that, listen, there's not much else to say. Is there really? What else? Is anything?
It was interesting. I mean, Dimarco breaking the assist record officially now with 2 assists is huge, because now he has done it. Whether you count it as 17 or 18, however you count it, he's more than Papu Gomez, which was the record, and not Ronaldinho, as we explained. Transfer mark count penalties, 1 as assists. So he has broken the record. There's an incident about the penalty on Carlos Augusto, which my good friend Alessandro Arbizani thinks is not a penalty. I disagree. I'm with Luca Marelli on this. I think that when your hand is by your head, it's not in a natural position, and that takes precedence over what people are saying. And I think it's a correct objection that, okay, well, what about the distance, and was there time to react, and this and that? But for me, the way that the laws are written, if your hand is by your head and you're jumping, it's definitely in an unnatural position. Therefore, it's punito.
By the law, unfortunately, it's 100% penalty. But as I say 1,000 times, anybody that's ever played football again knows that in that situation, the way that situation happens, him putting his arms out a bit like that because he's kind of anticipating the guy coming into him. That's a natural reaction to go like that, because if someone's jumping into you or coming into you, your natural reaction since the dawn of time will be to put your hand out. That's just a natural reaction. That's just how humans are. So again, but this is we've discussed this.
But no, I mean, I thought it was not that much. It wasn't an exciting game more than, I mean, it wasn't anything much to write home from. It was a pretty entertaining second half, and I think Torino did really well to come back. It ended in a draw, and Inter now have to.
The only other thing, Thuram has hit form now, just in time for the World Cup. Like, it doesn't really matter for Inter, but it does matter for Inter because it matters for Inter. I'll tell you why it matters for Inter, because if they decide to, they've actually now got a market for him. If they want to make the decision to sell him, there'll be a market for him now. Clubs will be looking at him and saying, right, this is a player that big clubs that will be good for a big club. Do you know what I mean? So I actually think it is good for Inter that he has hit form, because if he hadn't, then they would have been in a bit of a situation like.
He's now scored 12 goals in the Serie A, not a single one on penalty. Together with Duvikas, he's 4
goals.
4 goals behind him and Nico Paz as well. Paz, Thuram, and Duvikas all have 12 goals. They're 4 goals behind Lautaro on 16.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Milan Juventus 0-0. Really nothing to talk about here. It was a terrible game. I predicted a draw. I think most people.
Everybody predicted a draw. They were not going to harm each other. This is like when West Germany beat Austria 1-0 in 1982. They're not going to harm each other. A draw helps both of them in the quest for top 4. They're not going to do anything stupid.
For Milan, but Juventus have to be a little bit careful because, look, I think it was clear if you watched the game, neither side were really going for it. I think Juventus slightly more, but both seemed like they didn't want to risk too much. And when you have that situation, it doesn't mean that you've agreed before the game, look, we're going to draw.
You don't need to agree beforehand.
It just means that, you know what, let's play with the handbrakes on. If we can nick a goal, we can. But we're not going to leave ourselves open. And when that happens, the likelihood is, especially when Allegri's manager of one of the teams, that it's going to end up in a 0-0 draw. So that was what it is. Milan got a point which will certainly clinch the Champions League now. I think they're 6 points over 5th with 4 games left. That's not going to be overturned. I think they've got the head-to-head as well, I think. So that's not going to be overturned. And Juventus have to be a bit more careful. Look, they're 3 points over Como and Roma. So they've probably played a little bit of a calculation in that they can afford a draw, 3 wins and a draw, and still get 4th over Como. But Como play Napoli this weekend. So they're probably banking and hoping that Como can at least drop 2 points in that, at least, which will give them
I think that's what they are.
Will give them the cushion. Yeah, that's what they're banking on. But it's a dangerous gamble, but it means that if that was to happen, then they can afford 2 draws and still finish above Como. So that's what they've done there. And with Roma, because they've got the head-to-head over Roma, they can actually afford a draw, they can afford a loss and still finish ahead of Roma. So, but Roma have quite an easy running. So look, Juventus still have it to do, but I think they played a calculation there. Time will tell whether they should have gone for it more or whether they shouldn't have gone for it more. It's a dangerous calculation, but it's probably they've done it on the balance of probability there. So anyway, that's where they are for the top 4. As for the game itself, look, it's a game of virtually no chances. Salamakers hit the post after some really great play from Leao. He was involved in the run. And Juventus, really, it was just Conceição. Conceição was really dangerous for Juventus. He went on so many dribbles, had so many shots. End product, not always there, but he did a great assist for Thuram, the disallowed goal. Had a couple of shots which maybe he should have done better. But apart from that, there was nothing in attack from both teams, which probably kind of tells us where both teams are going into the summer and what they both need, which is a number 9. I thought Jonathan David's link-up play was better than it has been, but no kind of real threat, like goal threat. He never looked like he was going to hurt the Milan team where it mattered in terms of goal-scoring threat. And as for Milan, look, Leao, some great moments. I actually thought he had some really great moments in this game, but and Pulisic was terrible. But they're not strikers. There just isn't that goal threat there. So that we've seen where Juventus and Milan are. The lack of a 9 is really clear there in terms of what they need to improve. So that was shown in this game. Apart from that, the positives are both defenses were really good. It's another clean sheet for Juventus. The defense has really improved in the last month. Now that Bremer has really got back to top form, and they've had a string of clean sheets now during this kind of unbeaten run. I thought Bremer was really good. I thought Gabbia was excellent for Milan. I thought Kelly and Pavlovic played really well. And I thought Salamakers showed against Borga, who really struggled for Juventus, and with Yildiz, when Yildiz came on, although I don't think Yildiz is fully fit. Salamakers is a great one-on-one defender. Like, when players run at him, he's so good, especially in tight areas, like players that try to dribble past him in tight areas that are good dribblers in tight areas, like Yildiz and Borga are. Salamakers is really great at that. He's such an underrated player.
He is, and he's got such a low center of gravity. He's just good in tight spaces, period, whether it's defending or attacking. and he's technically very, very gifted. So yeah, no, I agree with that. I think that's
Bartezaghi. Yeah, just want to say
Yeah.
Bartezaghi was really bad. He got taken off at halftime because Conceição was going past him for a wheel. That's a little bit concerning. And I know Conceição's a great dribbler, but if Bartezaghi's going to be this kind of player that he's young, so let's give him time. But if Bartezaghi's going to be this kind of player that we hope him to be, like a potential Italy national team player, he has to be defensively better on one-on-ones. He can't be getting done, like twisted in and out so easily and slow on the turn. He's a big guy, slow on the turn that he is. So that was, and he got taken off for a Stupinan who did much better in the second half.
I just want to, what you think of Bremer's comments, because it was, those were pretty big. I mean,
I think he's right. I think he's right.
Yeah.
I think he's right. He's 29 years old. He's a top player, and he wants to win. And Juventus, but I don't think that Juventus is the reason why Juventus keep finishing 4-4-4 is due to a lack of desire to not try and challenge and win the Scudetto. It's just that the club's been incompetently run for years. It's not like they're not Tottenham in the sense that Tottenham are like, all right, if we finish fourth, that's great. Or like Arsenal in the second half of Wenger's reign, where it was kind of like, if we finish fourth, that's great. And then if you're a top player, you don't want to be part of that club because, you don't want to be a club where that is the ambition of the club. I don't think it's a lack of ambition. I think the club has just been incompetently run. So,
well, that's simple
as that.
Yeah.
Really.
Well, it is simple as that, but I think it's very important that he says that. And I think that the fact that for me, I took away from that the comment itself that I've been here for 6 years. I'm 29 years old. We're not winning anything. This isn't good. That can be interpreted in many ways. If he wants to leave, will he force to leave? Is there an offer? I mean, it's a very, very clear statement.
I haven't watched the interview. I would like to see the context of how the question was asked and how exactly he answered it. If it was a quite kind of like, well, are you happy at just finishing fourth? If someone asks me that and you're a winner, of course you're going to say, well, no, I'm not happy at finishing fourth. I want to win things. I've been here a long time. I'm 29. Time has run out. Of course I want to win things, and we need to win things. That's, for me, that's the answer of a winner. If it's a kind of,
the question was about Spalletti's renewal. And that's when he said that it's 6 years that Inter just that Juve are floating around. When he arrived, he changed a lot with the team. It's 6 years that Juve are running around. This can't go on. I'm happy here, but it's important to return to winning. In order to be considered a champion, you have to go back to winning. I want to win because I'm 29 years old and I can't wait.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. It's but you should be saying things like that. That's what winners will be saying after so many years. But this shows the Juventus are running out of time because you don't keep players like Bremer or Yildiz. I think they'll get another year out of Yildiz. Thuram, the really da Juve players aren't going to stay around for forever if they're going to keep finishing 4-4-4. So that's a sign. As for Napoli, look, dominant Napoli win, and they remain champions for one more week. 4-0 over Cremonese. McTominay, unbelievable goal for the first one. Awful penalty, but he's got 9 goals in Serie A this season now. 7 in 2026. Sorry. I think he's been Napoli's MVP again, hasn't he, this season?
That scissor kick assist as well, his technique and athleticism is ridiculous. It really is. And I agree. I think he's been Napoli's best player. I 100%.
Only Paz has more goals from midfield, although Paz plays more offensive. And in fact,
advanced.
McTominay's actually played a lot this season.
But we have to give praise to Kevin. We have to give praise to Kevin De Bruyne because he was really good in this game. And he showed that he's the fact that he's come back and that I know it's just Cremonese who are awful, but he's showing something. And I don't know if it's he's showing form going into the World Cup, but it's an interesting decision for Napoli to make.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you do with De Bruyne? Do you keep him? I mean, I think a lot will depend on who the new manager is. If Conte leaves as well, I think that will be important. I don't think I'll make a decision on him yet, but yeah, absolutely. Alisson Santos, amazing one-on-one. Love watching him play. Cremonese are awful, and they're now 1 point behind Lecce, aren't they? In the relegation race. So yeah, not looking good for them. Just want to speak very quickly about Lukaku. I saw Uncle Sharma did a video on this. We did a social media post on this, and he's absolutely right. Like Romelu Lukaku really does know how to kind of
backstab everybody.
Basically, yeah. Like,
I mean, this guy.
For someone who maybe rightfully so at certain points in his career has painted himself as a victim in sometimes, and maybe rightfully so, the way that he was, lampooned and taken the piss out of in England over his touch and his weight and stuff at Man United and at Chelsea and stuff. But he has somebody that has really made his career, made him the player that he was, has always been there for him, has rescued him how many times in Antonio Conte. And then to do that, or not even so much what he did, because I think, as I've said before, I actually agree with him. If he wants to play at the World Cup, he was right to go with his Belgium doctors than with the Napoli doctors. The numbers, the records speak for themselves there. You can't trust the Napoli medical team or Italian medics at the moment. It's fallen so far behind the rest of the world. But it's how you probably go about it. And that's where he's fallen short here, hasn't he? With Antonio Conte and with Napoli.
He has. I mean, Conte's comments are just, whoa. I'm disappointed by Romelu Lukaku. He didn't even come to say hi to me. I didn't speak to Romelu. He was there close to my office and we didn't talk. I was not expecting this situation. I'm laughing because Lukaku, when it comes to burning bridges, nuking bridges, Lukaku is Maradona. Like, there is nobody better at burning his relationships.
When it comes to burning bridges, he's like Trump in Trump's threats to Iran. That's his bridges, because he burns every single bridge with every single person, even those that are supposed to be his friends and his loved ones. And the way he did it to Inter the first time, okay, at least you could give him the benefit of the doubt because there was a financial side in terms. Again, it was how he went about it again. But then, like, when he was at Chelsea, like, they remember the interview he did in December, mid-season. I mean, that was hilarious. Okay, it was going badly. But again, it's not so much what he does.
But the interview,
how he does it.
No. The interview was done in October, if I remember correctly, because our good friend and colleague Naz reported on it, Nizar Kinsella reported on it. The interview was done in October, but Sky Italia didn't release it until New Year's Eve. On December, when he'd actually turned a corner. And then, of course, the whole revelation that Nizar did on our pod, actually, which went viral, and Chelsea lost their shit about it, that Thomas Tuchel had told Lukaku when they were having a meeting and Conte was on TV, "Oh, look, there's your daddy." And he didn't
Well, he's not his daddy no more. He's not his daddy no more. He's estranged. He's a strange daddy. Yeah. Well, yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? It is crazy. And he's not going to go into the World Cup in good shape now because he's not going to have played any games. So he's fucked himself twice over there. He'll leave at the end of the summer. Como and Roma, they both win. So as we said, they close it to 3 points. Como back to winning ways after 3 defeats. And that horror collapse to Inter in the which is really going to have hurt them, because to do it twice, probably also a sign of kind of what Fabregas needs to do to improve. We sat here and praised him so many times, but to collapse like that twice, the first time, okay. The second time, though, it just shows, that
it shows that he's not the finished product. That's the thing with young coaches; they're not the finished product. And the thing with him is, he's trying to find a way to manage results and manage wins and knockout games and league games. And he's not there yet, because I agree with you. The way that he interpreted that second half And I do think Kivu's in-game management, every single sub in that game was spot on. He interpreted the game really well. Fabregas, awfully, absolutely awfully. So it's like, it's a little bit of a, two things can be true at the same time discussion. But yeah, it was important for them to win, and they did. They're right back.
They need to improve their box defending. If I want to put it simply, from a technical point of view, I think that they showed that they couldn't handle the defending in the box in both the games against Inter. It was shown again in the second game. And once the pressure was on, they kind of got overwhelmed, which again I guess does happen with young teams as well, which is where that's the biggest downside of having a young team, that they can get overwhelmed in situations like that and crumble, and they did crumble.
Mentally.
Roma dominant. Malen again inspired for Roma. Good win for Roma. He got a goal and an assist. 11 in 14 now, amazing. And Roma actually have a really quite an easy run in now. Just the derby, of course, which won't be easy. But yeah, so they actually probably have the easiest number, the easiest running. Bologna's misery continues, turning out to be quite a miserable season for Bologna now. In the end, I think Italiano should leave. He'll be making a big mistake if he sticks around, because he will risk damaging his stock, I think, if he stays for another season. And he deserves to join a bigger club now. Just on Roma, though, quickly, Ranieri and Massara. Is Massara official that he's left? Ranieri's official.
I've not seen Massara. Let me.
I think it's confirmed he's leaving, but I don't know. I don't know if it's.
It says that there's reports.
Reports is
saying
official,
that he's already, but I've not seen anything official.
Yeah, he's going to leave anyway. But Ranieri confirmed on Friday that he's left his position as senior advisor to the club following his public spat with head coach Giampiero Gasperini. We said it on midweek last week that it was inevitable that one of them would go at the end of the season. Well, it's happened before the end of the season. The situation was untenable. Did Roma make the right call siding with Gasperini?
I think that it was inevitable for Roma to make that decision, because they have a coach who actually is doing decently, doing well. They've changed. There's been a lot of turbulence on that bench. They have someone who they believe in, who has a proven track record, who clearly wants to stay at Roma and build something. He's not happy with how directors at the club have behaved and not given him the possibility to deliver on those results. He's been very vocal about it, and I think it was always going to be one winner in that war. I think Ranieri really overplayed his hand. He's not a very badly. And I think some of the comment, he overplayed his hand with the comment about him being fourth choice. You can't say that. You can't
which
say
really
that.
surprised me, because that's just not Ranieri. Ranieri's such a good diplomat. He's such a good, but it shows. But it does show.
But to be fair, but at the same time, Carlo, when Gasperini was appointed, it wasn't exactly a love fest, was it?
No, it's not. But we knew that. But again, that's where being a diplomat. You have to be a diplomat in that position. You can't say something like that. You can't,
And it just didn't work out, and it was always not going to work out. And after he said that, and I think obviously if Ranieri leaves after Gasperini said the comments he did, it's only normal that Ricky Massara leaves as well. Like you can't stay on, because obviously you're the sporting director, and if the head coach is so unhappy. There's a war between the sporting director and between the coach and the sporting director and the technical director, whatever Ranieri's role is. If there's an open war and you're on the side of the losing party, you have to leave. So I'm not surprised by any of that. It's he kind of sacked himself. But at the end of the day, I mean, Ranieri's done so much for Roma. He'll always be loved there. Now Gasperini has to deliver. Whoever's being brought in now has to be someone I hope that is on the same page as Gasperini, who can work with Gasperini, because Gasperini is not easy to work with. But they need to find someone who he can work with and try to build something from which they can grow from, because I think he's done a really, really good job.
Yeah, they call him the sporting director killer. That's what his nickname that he's been given there, because he killed off Sartori at Atalanta. Now he's killed off Ranieri as well, and Massara at Roma. Right, the rest of the fixtures: Parma 1, Pisa 0, Hellas 0, Lecce 0, Fiorentina 0, Sassuolo 0. Lots of goals there, which Nima would love. Cagliari, Atalanta, Lazio, Udinese on Monday evening. So as we said before, Lecce it's looking like Lecce versus.
It is Lecce versus Cremonese, but it's interesting because Lecce were unable to beat Hellas. I think they both have Pisa left to play, who are relegated essentially. It's gonna be a nail biter, that one.
Yeah. It could.
And who knows? Do they sack what's his name from Cremonese and bring back Davide Nicola? I mean,
well, I wouldn't rule it out.
Yeah,
I wouldn't rule it out. I mean,
they've got Italian football.
They've got Lazio, Pisa, Udinese, and then Como on the last day of the season. Whereas Lecce have Pisa away, Juventus at home, Sassuolo away, Genoa at home, which is not a bad running, because three of those teams have nothing to play for. So Lecce, you're probably going to say advantage Lecce, I think.
And if we manage to pull that off, we have to give credit to Lecce again for doing the great escape once more, 3 years in a row.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Let's talk about Italy now, because this is a big week for Italy, and what is actually going to happen with the situation with Iran and their participation at the World Cup. So on Thursday is the 76th FIFA Congress, which is taking place in Vancouver. So everybody knows that the FIFA Congress is the supreme legislative body of FIFA. It takes place annually, and it basically makes the decisions on the key areas of the governance of football. And it's been held since 1904. And this is actually only the second time that the Congress has taken place in Canada. And it's taking place there because the World Cup is taking place in Canada, United States, and Mexico. So this is the last Congress, of course, before the World Cup takes place in, well, not long now. We're talking about 6 weeks, less than 6 weeks. So what will they be discussing there? Well, I've read the agenda of the meeting. A lot of it is the usual kind of legal, ceremonial, bureaucratic, kind of boring nonsense, really. So there's going to be an address by Gianni Infantino. They'll review 2025, kind of what they did well. They'll basically praise themselves, as they usually do. They'll go through the financial statements. They'll go through the auditors' reports, all that kind of boring stuff. They'll approve a new budget for the coming year, 3 years. They'll do an update on the global stand against racism, which doesn't include Palestinians and Lebanese, I should add. And they'll do a discussion on, and this is the key point where it relates to Italy and Iran, they'll do a discussion on proposals duly submitted by the member associations and the council. So this is where the Iran issue will be discussed. Now, I have been told by a couple of sources that I've spoken to that FIFA want to make a decision on Thursday about Iran. They want to make a decision. Whether that will happen or not, we'll have to wait and see. I don't know what you think. I personally can't see it being made on Thursday, but who knows? Who knows? I'm told that what Infantino and what FIFA have said publicly is actually true, that he, Infantino, and FIFA, they absolutely want Iran to be at the World Cup. Like that, there's no doubt about it. They want them to be there. But then that doesn't mean they're going to be there, because there's lots of parts in play here. There's what do the United States Federation want? What do the US government want? I have no idea. We've seen last week that there was a question asked in a press conference to Donald Trump and Marco Rubio about this. And Rubio basically said that they've no issue, the US government, in Iran being there. But then he says, as long as they don't bring in terrorists with their athletic trainers. So what they really want, that's what they've said publicly. What they really want, again, I've no idea. So there's lots for FIFA to sort out. Should Iran go? Number one. Where do Iran play, as they don't want to play in the USA? Can that be arranged? What about security? We're recording this just a day after Trump. There was another apparent attempt on his life, whether it was a false flag or whatever, we don't know. But they're claiming it was another attempt on his life. So security is important here. If Iran is out, then what does that do to the legitimacy and the image of the World Cup? FIFA's in a tricky position here on what they do. And that's before you even get to the Iran side, which I'm sure you can probably talk in a little bit more detail as well. So how do you read this situation?
I read it that when they have made a fine mess for themselves here, and they have...
You sounded just like Laurel and Hardy guy, the big one. Another fine mess you've got me into. Yeah,
the fat one.
Yeah. I never know which one is which.
Fat.
Yeah, I never know which one, but he always used to say that. Another fine mess you've got me into.
Well, it is. They've got themselves into a fine mess here because the FIFA's legitimacy in terms of being whatever little they had, and some will argue, and I'm one of them, that they never had any, they were never neutral or objective in anything. But it's completely it's been ripped up. They are a partisan actor, and become more apparent than them not doing anything to help the Palestinian Football Association enter into this Congress. Because lest we forget, 3 officials from the Palestine Football Association were denied entry to Canada ahead of this Congress.
Sorry, Palestinian or Iranian?
Palestinian FA.
Palestinian, right,
have been,
okay.
they were denied entry, and there's been problems with the Iranian FA as well in the past, as we know, being allowed entry, and of course, this follows FIFA's report where they invented international law, where they said that the final legal status of the West Bank remains an unresolved and highly complex matter under public international law. Now, of course, it isn't, because that has been resolved since 1967, and it's the official line of even the UK and US government that the West Bank is occupied territory. So I don't know how they just invented that one, and the president of the president of the Palestinian FA was supposed to be there, Jibril Rajoub. He was supposed to respond to the report at the Congress in Vancouver. And there's discussion of a challenge being submitted to the Court of Arbitration for Sport. So he's apparently one of the 3 people who were denied a Canadian visa, ahead of the PFA's general secretary and the head of legal affairs. FIFA, and they asked FIFA to help them. FIFA did diddly squat. They did their best cricket impression.
Are any Iranians going to be at this Congress then?
I don't know. I've not been able to see anything, but I expect some to be there. Yes,
they have to be, because you can't discuss and sort this matter out. There's no Iranians there, can you?
Well, I think if there's anything that we have learned throughout the last 3 years or the last 10 years, it's that everything is possible. That the illusion of transparency and fair balance, checks and balances and fairness, they don't care. It's zero fucks given. So I don't know. I'm sure there will be some Iranian some members of the Iranian delegation. I expect them to be there, but I haven't seen anything. that they have been denied visas or such. But I guess we'll have to wait and find out. Just like the refereeing case, we're just going to have to wait and find out and follow this shit show from the front seat, from the first seat, front row, as it develops.
Yeah, it is a mess. I mean, I personally don't think a decision will be made. No way that FIFA has become such a spineless body now, organization. I think that they're just there, sitting there, just praying that something happens during this war in the next month, and that will help them make the decision for them. Whether that's the war continues or whether the war or reignites, because it's kind of a bit of a stalemate at the moment. Whether it reignites and they're like, well, that's it. Iran can't go, or and there is talk about renewed talks for a ceasefire now, and maybe through the Russians or through the Chinese or Pakistan, or you'll know better than me. Like whether that ends it and then they can go. And I think they're praying for that, and I think that's what they'll do. I think they'll play for time and they won't make a decision because they can't make decisions. Remember what was happening with the whole kind of Palestine and banning Israel, and they just kept pushing the can.
Well, that's the one I'm referring to. And
exactly.
They made a decision. They made a decision by inventing international law
in order to not make a decision. Though, do you know what I mean? So I think that's what they'll do here. They'll probably come up with something like so that's what I think. But I mean, there's nothing else.
I don't know.
Is there anything else to say? Has there been?
No.
What do you? You don't know. You don't know.
I don't know. I've after the events of after the last few years, anyone who says they know what's going to happen is lying. Nobody knows what's going to happen because the people who are pushing all of these things in place have no clue what they're doing, and they don't know what they're going to do. And it's just I guess just hang in there and try to follow this mess.
The only thing I would say is this: I think you'd agree with me. If the war does reignite again, they're not going to. My
opinion is that I think it's yes. If there is but it's not a ceasefire. If there is an actual resolution to this conflict, then I think Iran will go. But if there is no resolution to this war or this conflict, this will continue. Iran, I cannot see a situation where Iran goes and plays football in the United States on the west coast of the United States in LA, and one game against Egypt being at the very tip. I think it's in Oregon. Is being played, or is it Seattle? I can't remember. I think it's Seattle, where the game against Egypt of all games has been named the gay pride game. I mean, it's just the whole thing is just such a. It's just I'm laughing. We're laughing because this is the theater of the absurd. We live in the theater of the absurd, and that's why we're laughing. I don't take anything seriously anymore. I've checked out. I don't take anything seriously anymore because it's difficult to take anything seriously. It's everything is so absurd, and it's just it's just you can't. So I don't see how Iran participate in this World Cup unless they're allowed to play in Mexico. One compromise could be that they don't need to live in the United States, that they can live in Mexico and have their training facilities there and then fly in for the games and then fly out again.
But I don't see that happening because, Iran, what happens if Iran go through? Like you said, one thing's saying, okay, you'll play your two group games.
Not just, wait. Not just go through. If they finish second and the United States finishes second, they play each other in the United States. Yeah.
No. Could you imagine that?
We live in the theater of the absurd.
Could you imagine that? Could you imagine Iran against the United States? I mean, that would be the best World Cup story ever. I almost want it to happen. Can you imagine? And Iran win. Can you imagine Iran win? Donald Trump, the orange man, watching from the stands.
No, we live in the theater of the absurd. We live in the theater of the absurd, and it's just nothing. I don't know
what's actually happening with that, because it is a stalemate. Like, what is actually happening? Is there any chance of there being a resolution?
Well, there's I don't.
You don't know, right? You don't know. Okay.
No, there are ongoing negotiations in Islamabad. Is the latest story in Pakistan. You know,
Yeah.
who knows? Who knows?
Okay. Well, if Iran don't go to the World Cup, and if Italy are offered the place at the tournament, and this is now, in the public discourse now. After the special envoy to Donald Trump, Paolo Zampoli, said,
Yeah, he's the U.S. Special Envoy for Foreign Relations, not Foreign Relations, Global Partnership. Sorry, Global Partnership.
The title they gave him. Yeah. He came out. I'll read out his quotes. He says, "I confirm I have suggested to Donald Trump and Gianni Infantino that Italy replace Iran at the World Cup. I'm an Italian native. It would be a dream to see the Azzurri at a US hosted tournament. With 4 titles, they have the pedigree to justify inclusion." That's it. That's his pitch. Right. Look, this was asked. A journalist actually asked Donald Trump and Marco Rubio at a press conference about this on, I think it was Thursday or Friday. Rubio said, "Nothing from the US has told them they can't come. The problem with Iran would not be their athletes. It would be some of the other people they would want to bring with them. Some of them of whom have ties to the IRGC. We may not be able to let them in, but they're not the athletes themselves. They can't bring a bunch of IRGC terrorists into our country and pretend that they are journalists and athletic trainers." Right, okay. So that's basically where we're at. Now, Zampoli's proposal has brought mixed reactions in Italy. Both the Italian Minister for Sport, Andrea Abodi, and the CONI President, Luciano Buonfiglio, have said that they are against them getting a spot in this way, that they don't deserve to go. Buonfiglio said, "First of all, I don't think it's possible. Secondly, I would feel offended. You have to deserve to go to the World Cup." And Abodi said, "It's not appropriate. You qualify on the pitch." On the other side, though, there have been Dino Zoff that said it's something that could be done. It's certainly not brilliant. If the opportunity arose, we should take it, even if it's not very sporting. That's Dino Zoff, the 1982 World Cup winning captain, legend. Fabio Caressa kind of said what I've seen a lot of others saying, kind of like, well, it's not ideal, but if we get offered it, we shouldn't be ashamed of taking it. Where do you stand on the situation from Italy's side of things? If they get offered the spot, should they take it?
I think I think the most important thing here is that Italy can't be seen as begging for that spot, and they haven't. The Italian government, the Minister for Sport, and the FIGC have basically said that it's inappropriate to even entertain the idea, which is a very smart thing to say because they can't be seen to be begging for that spot. However, if Iran were to decide to pull, and this is another thing, I need people to listen to the words we are saying. It's not about Iran being banned from the World Cup. That's not what is being discussed. What is being discussed is if Iran decide not to participate and effectively pull out. Okay, that's what we're discussing. If Iran decide not to participate and to pull out, and if Italy are given the question, I don't see any difference from when Denmark was given the opportunity in 1992. I don't see any difference whatsoever. I don't understand this because Denmark had also failed to qualify for the tournament that year. But because of the war in the former Yugoslavia, they couldn't participate, and Denmark were given the chance. And Denmark went on and won the tournament. So I don't think there's I don't like the morality of it and so on. I don't like if Iran pull out, and it's because Iran pulled out. I mean, if you want to talk about morally, it's worse than what Denmark did was morally worse, because Yugoslavia, they were pulled out. They were not allowed to participate. Here, it's a team deciding that deciding not to participate because they don't want to participate in a World Cup after the president of the nation that hosts that World Cup threatened to kill their players. And they decide, which is exactly what the Iranian sports minister has said that if the security of our players can be on the team's safety, if the safety of the national team's players in the United States is ensured, we will travel to the World Cup. Okay, that's what he said. So that's where we are. This is a security issue for Iran. It's a safety and security issue. And on the back of what happened in the Women's Asian Cup with the Iranian women's team and the shit show that ensued there, that ensued there, while the war was going on, and the attacks on the team with cars hitting the players' bus, to attacking the players, publicly attacking them in supermarkets, hitting them with cars, and the players were driving. That's what he's referring to. So this isn't just taken out of the air. This isn't just Donald Trump, shit posting on Truth Social. That, together with what happened in Australia, is why Iran has serious security concerns. Now, should Iran decide not to participate, Iran is essentially pulling out. By that, if Italy are asked the question, I don't see why Italy should not go. I don't understand the question, because what morality is that? Regardless of who participates, then it will be someone who failed to qualify.
I guess just to play devil's advocate, I agree in general. The only thing I would say is, why should it be Italy and why should it not be somebody from their confederation? Where it's different with Denmark, because with Denmark it had to be from the confederation because it was a European tournament and Denmark were in the same group. They finished second to Yugoslavia, whereas with Italy they're in a completely different confederation. Why is it not going to somebody from their own confederation? That's the only argument I would say.
The thing is that FIFA's own statutes state that if a country or a nation pulls out of a tournament, it is entirely up to FIFA's discretion. Now, that means that they can make this decision based on whatever they want to. It's not like they have to, of course, sell it to people in the sense that they have to then explain why they decided. What I'm saying is the minimum number of teams from the AFC are already at the World Cup because Iraq beat Bolivia, I think, in the Intercontinental playoff and secured that spot. So every continent, every confederation has its minimum allocation. We're talking about an extra spot in effect, and therefore it doesn't need to be from the AFC. So why should it be Italy? Well, FIFA can say they have the highest ranking. They're the highest ranked team. Therefore, we're going to go with them. That's the cover story they're going to go with, most likely. And of course, let's not lie. Italy is a huge, huge footballing country. There's millions of Italian Americans in Italy and in Canada. From a PR and marketing point of view, Italy is the ideal choice. So for me, it just makes sense. And this is what I've been saying when we've discussed this throughout all of this. This is the situation. My personal opinion is I don't want to, this is just strictly speaking personally, I don't want to have any fucking thing to do with this World Cup. So I hope Iran don't go, and I hope Italy don't go. Okay? That's me. I don't want to have any fucking thing with this World Cup to do. I am planning on having a 3-month-long vacation, except for when we're doing the Mercato. Okay? That is what I'm planning. I'm not even going to watch the highlights of the World Cup because I'm so fed up with it. That's my personal choice and my personal preference, and I'm entitled to that. And if anybody doesn't like it, they can kiss my hairy Iranian ass. So that's my message.
That's a sight I don't want to see.
Yeah, no, but that's my personal opinion. But if you ask me as a journalist, what I think will happen No, but you have to speak like you're speaking to a child these days because people don't understand. That's my personal opinion. But if you're asking my opinion as a journalist, I don't see why Italy should turn it down. I don't understand the discussion because it's not like Iran are being banned. Iran will decide to pull out. If they pull out, the question will come. Personally, I don't understand why Italy should turn it down. I don't understand the discussion. I don't understand this moral outcry. I don't get it because it's not Italy's fault at all that Iran are pulling out. This is a situation that has happened. It happened in 92. It happened to Denmark. They went, and I'm sorry, but like, I don't get this discussion. But and also, given the scandal that erupted with Rocky and given what happened in 82 and 2006, it would be the most Italy thing that has ever happened for them to go to the World Cup and fucking win it. Okay?
Yeah. Well, listen. My opinion.
And I would laugh. I would laugh and laugh and laugh because it would piss off all the right people.
Yeah.
It would piss. No. It would piss off all the right people. Okay, not just everybody. It would piss off all the right people who these fake moralist pearl clutching members of the media, especially in the West, would fucking lose it, and I would stand with a cup, walking around them, asking them to cry directly into my cup so I can savor those delicious tears. And I would love it if it was with Allegri doing 1-0 shit housing his way to it, so you would lose your mind as well. And I'm sorry, it's just the kind of guy I am.
I know that.
If the world is a circus, so let's just have the most entertaining circus we can have. That's all I'm saying. I just want to be entertained. That's just me.
Okay, that's fine. I think we're all like that. Just don't show your hairy Iranian ass. That's all I ask.
If somebody has a problem with my personal opinion of not wanting to have anything to do with the World Cup, but like, that's my personal opinion. I don't want to have anything to do with it, but I do think that there is a chance that Italy are offered the spot, and I don't understand why Italy should turn it down. I don't get it.
Yeah, all I would say is that it's embarrassing.
And you're not socialing that. No, you're not socialing that.
Yes,
there
we
is
are.
you're not.
Yes,
no,
you're
not. You are not socialing that.
Yes, we are. We are. That will break the internet. Kiss my hairy Iranian ass. Right. No, look. My view is this. Personal opinion, that it's embarrassing. I've seen some people say that, we shouldn't go to the World Cup because it's embarrassing. It makes us look like we're beggars. Look, let me just say something to all these people. It's embarrassing whether we're at the World Cup or we're not at the World Cup. We failed to qualify. So whatever happens now, whether we get around the spot or we don't get around the spot, we're an embarrassment. So this doesn't change it. Me personally, if we get offered it, yes, I want to be there. I want something. There's not much I know it. Listen, it comes in horrible circumstances, and there's nothing that I want more than I'm the biggest pacifist you ever get when it comes to wars, right? I hope the war ends today. I hope that all the killing, the slaughter, the economic depression that is coming. And it's incoming, that's going to destroy economies all around the world.
Generations.
Everyone's livelihoods, everyone's businesses. It's going to bring famine to the world. People don't realize this, right? This is coming. I want the war. So, I want the war to end today, right? No doubt about that. But if the worst comes to the worst and, Iran not at the World Cup and Italy get offered the spot, I'm not going to be a hypocrite and sit here and say, no, I don't. Oh, well, we didn't really qualify. It's a bit embarrassing. I want us to be there. I want to, I love the World Cup. It's something that I've loved since, I hate club football now. I've been honest on that. I get no love out of club football anymore, the way that it's gone. I still have a part of my heart is still with international football, even with Italy failing to qualify for 3 World Cups, even with the shambles and the corruption that we've seen in FIFA and in UEFA, and the way that the club and the people that have hijacked our game, and even with all that, it's still something that I look forward to, and I will still look forward to it, even at the World Cup where we're going to be shit. at the World Cup if we qualified, or if we somehow.
That's where Allegri comes in.
We're going to be shit, right? I don't care, but
That's
just
what
having
Allegri.
that, and also, I'll be honest with you, I'm not going to lie to everybody. Italy being at the World Cup is great for our pod, you know. And I've sat here, and some people have called me arrogant, and I've said the Italian football, the FIGC, the Lega Serie A, all of them being so incompetent and corrupt and clueless, they've held back our podcast. They're holding back our podcast. Now, Italy not qualifying for the World Cup is held back our podcast, because if Italy at the World Cup, our podcast will get so many people will tune in and watch us and listen to us, and we will grow so much, and we'll enjoy ourselves, because we're doing this pod for enjoyment at the end of the day. So having Italy at the World Cup, so I'm not going to sit here. It's good for the podcast. It's good for Italian football that we're there. Now, that doesn't change the fact that we don't deserve to beat the World Cup, and that we're an embarrassment. And it's embarrassing that we're there in those circumstances. But it doesn't mean that I don't want us to be there. So if the worst comes to the worst, I hope it doesn't, and I hope the war ends. If the worst comes to the worst and the war carries on, I hope we're there. It'll probably be the last thing to look forward to with what's coming in the world if it doesn't.
Yeah, look, from a professional point of view, yeah, I agree with all of that. But on a personal level, like I said, I don't want to have anything to do with this World Cup. I think it hasn't ruined the international game for me, but it's ruined this World Cup. Everything that's been going on the last year and a half, 3 years, in particular, with everything that they've done, that FIFA's done under Infantino, I don't want to have anything to do with this World Cup. But again, if Italy are there, I will be as I always am. I'm professional. I'll cover it. We'll have a fantastic time. Our listeners and patrons and viewers will love it, and because we had lots of beautiful things lined up. And I'll do it. But so that's what we're going to do. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I am.
Yeah, that's where let's move on anyway. Let's finish off with Baggio, Premface Serie ASS of the week. So Baggio, first of all, Edoardo Motta, I already gave him a shout out on the Q&A on Thursday. 4 penalty saves against Atalanta. Absolutely fantastic. A really exciting young goalkeeper. We haven't had many positives to talk about on this pod in the last month since Italy went out, but that is one. So let's give a shout out to him. Also, I want to give a shout out to Samuele Inacio, who has broken into the Borussia Dortmund starting 11. He put in a good performance against Freiburg. They won 4-0. The point I want to make is this, that Italy have to make sure that Inacio chooses them and not Brazil. There are reports that he's in talks to swap allegiances to Brazil. He has a Brazilian father, former Atalanta attacker Ignacio Pia, played in the early 2000s for them. I think his idol is Neymar, so there are some fears there. He is a phenomenal young talent. We've seen that with the Italy underage national teams, teenage teams. Italy have to, even if it means calling him up in June for these friendlies and then getting him locked down, making him promises, basically. We can't lose him, because we don't have any of these kind of natural kind of attacking talents, wide attackers, or dribblers and creative talents, and he is one of those. And it would be devastating if we lose this guy, given how much we're struggling to find these kind of players. But unfortunately, this is what happens when Serie A destroys youngsters, because if they looked after their youngsters and they knew how to produce and develop them, players like Inacio wouldn't leave the league. He'd have stayed in Serie A. If he'd have stayed in Serie A and not moved to Germany, there would be no worries about playing for Italy. We'd have kept him in Italy. We'd have had control of him, everyone around him, and I'm sure there would have been no chance of him going to Brazil. But unfortunately, he's away from Italy now, and he's probably Brazil have obviously. We'll see. I hope it doesn't come to that. These are just reports. But I'm biased. I think he should pick Italy because he has no competitors in his role. Brazil have Vinicius Junior. They have Martinelli. They have other brilliant young talents. We don't have any. maybe he looks at the formation, maybe he looks at the 3-5-2 and that is not a system that he can play in. See, this is another thing about the 3-5-2 that I said. You play a 3-5-2, you get talents like this, and there's no spot for them. So, yeah, I'm concerned, but I hope that, we just have to do everything we can to keep this young guy.
Yeah, everyone is really, really excited about him. And the stuff I've seen is he's an interesting... It's an interesting player, and he's done really well. And I hope that he chooses Italy, of course, because Italian football isn't exactly spoiled with those kinds of players in that position. So, yeah, no, I really don't have anything to add. I think Inacio, Motta, like, they make you happy. You know, when you see these youngsters, they make you happy. I just want to say, I think another Baggio, not maybe of this, well, it is this week because they did play. But I think the 3 games that we've seen this season, especially the last 2, Inter Como, it's crazy. It's been very entertaining. That is when Italian football looks at its best. The Coppa Italia semi-final return leg, the end to that, the 4-3 match, and that's what we want to talk about. That's that's Italian football showing itself from the positive side. And I think given the last week,
good clash of styles, good sort of clash of styles. I think that maybe Kivu he's definitely more offensive. Well, he is offensive manager, so maybe it's the wrong word, but it's good to see different styles of play, between the technical and the physical, and that's kind of, you want to see. You don't want to see everyone playing the same football. Do you know what I mean? Which is kind of what's happened in football and made it a little bit boring as well. Premface of the week. So this was sent in by our patron, Renato Brea, and it's from podcasters, the False 12 podcasters, and they were doing a Serie A versus Premier League greatest 11. And these guys picked John Terry over Franco Baresi, and even worse, Frank Lampard over Michel Platini.
3-time Ballon d'Or winner, yeah? How many times did he win the Ballon d'Or, Platini? 3 times, yeah?
3 times in a row.
Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah. just putting it out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, won everything with Juve, led France to their first real international trophy in the Euros, was unplayable, part of one of the greatest club sides of all time, was top goal scorer as well, wasn't he? 3 years in a row for you. Golden Boot winner, Gold Ballon d'Or winner. Yeah.
Tell me you've never watched football before 2010 without telling me you've never watched football before 2010.
And it's and the thing is, I actually like Frank Lampard, but I think this is a completely ludicrous comparison. Like, it's an absolutely ludicrous comparison. And I think it's funny because I don't think even Frank Lampard would choose himself here. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? This is the funny part. I don't even think he would do that. At this,
I don't think Frank Lampard's family would pick him over. Would pick him over Platini.
Oh dear, no, it's mental.
But Platini was corrupt, so he wasn't any good. Don't you hate it when people make that argument? I used to have arguments with this at goal with some people, and I used to just think, shut up. When people used to say, when we used to have debates over who the greatest players of all time, right? And we used to do lists, sometimes on goal, and people would say, well, we can't pick Platini because he was corrupt as FIFA president, and we can't pick Maradona because he used to do drugs. What does that have to do
with
rating how good a footballer is? Just because that they were corrupt or they did coke, that makes them you can't pick them.
What has that got to do with anything? What has that got to do with the this notion of compartmentalizing, carrying 2 thoughts in one's head is that fantastic footballer, shit human being. Do you know what I mean? If you want to make that judgment, but one does not necessarily have anything to do with the other. I've always found this debate, regardless if it's sports or literature or arts or anything, I find it stupid. The work of an artist or anything is not the same as it's not.
Exactly.
It's not the same. They're different people. Or they are the same person, but it's got context matters here. It's not like you're saying you're in favor of corruption because you think Platini was a good footballer. That's an insane conclusion to make.
Yeah, exactly.
Or you're pro cocaine and you love cocaine substance abuse because you rate Maradona as the greatest player of all time. It's an insane connection.
I know. It used to drive me mad. Right, Serie ASS of the week. So Inter and Juventus are there is a real battle going on between Inter and Juventus. This is the biggest battle. Forget about the 90s. Forget about Calciopoli. Forget about what's happening now. Forget about anything, right? This is the biggest Inter versus Juventus rivalry ever. It's who has the shitter social media team. It's close. It's close. And this week, they really, so first of all, Inter. This was sent in by Adriano Rizzo and Inter Svedese. They both sent this in. So it's Inter's social media team playing this stupid handshake game with the players, and they then have to give a rating out of the 10 for each player based on their handshake, how good their handshake is. It isn't that one. What do you call that? The DAP one, and that Belgian woman does. It was an actual some other shit.
Some other shit.
Yeah. So that was the Inter one. Then Juventus create a lab. This is actually worse, this year, this week. So, but it's some influencer went to Juventus and they dropped 4 wallets around Juventus Stadium.
I saw that.
The influencer put his number in each wallet, and then he wanted to see which player would find the wallet and ring him up. That's it. That's the game. That's the video basically. And in the end, apparently, although we were never actually shown evidence of this. Apparently, Bremer found the wallet and rung up the influencer.
No one else did.
And yeah, apparently,
okay. Yeah, but what did the others do? Did they just give it to someone else, or did they even?
I don't know. We didn't. They didn't show that. They just showed.
Then the whole thing is fucking pointless. The whole thing was completely pointless then. Like, if it's supposed to be like a social experiment, then that you want to do with famous footballers, then you show the whole damn thing. Otherwise, it's completely pointless.
Well,
like,
I'm not going to try and make sense out of such a stupid idea. Like, you know.
But no, but I get that it's an interesting like social experiment, but then show the results of the experiment. Don't just tell people that, because I haven't watched it. Like, did they actually show Bremer ringing him up? Or did they?
I think that they showed him answering his phone, and then he said, "Oh yeah, it was Bremer." And then I'm not sure if they showed Bremer. I'm not sure if they showed Bremer meeting him at the end. Maybe they did, like handing it over. They might have done that at the end. To be honest with you, it was so shit. I'm trying to just forget about it. It's just yeah.
No, I mean, my point is, if you want to do a social experiment like that, there's actually some value to that, like what people do and blah blah. But then show the whole.
Yeah, it was a bit of a shit.
I know, but but you want to show honesty, and because in Sweden we have a saying that the tillfället gör tjuven. It's like the chant, the opportunity, when the opportunity arrives, it decides if you're a thief or not. Like, basically, in that situation, what you do. Right?
There was nothing to steal. It was empty wallets with a number.
No, I know, but
put some money in it. Put some money in it if you wanted to see.
Yeah. No. But I mean, I understand the social experiment side of it, but then show the results. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
I think they did show Bremer, but they didn't show anything else.
Yeah,
from what I saw. But it was stupid.
But I mean, it's mental.
Yeah, the other one. This was hilarious, right? Everything that's going on in Italian football this weekend, everything. What did the DAZN do on Sunday? I think it was before Milan versus Juventus. They interviewed the financial police before the game on the pitch. It was some loser with his outfit, his military or police outfit on, loads of medals.
It's his uniform. It's not an outfit, Carlo. It's a uniform.
Okay, whatever.
You make it sound like it's like it's his official uniform.
Yeah, okay. His outfit uniform. Same
it's
thing.
Not an outfit. It's a uniform.
But
it's not like he went
out
shopping. No, an outfit is more like you go shopping for it. He has to wear that to work.
Okay,
like,
his uniform with all his medals on, and they were interviewing him about piracy. Everything that's going on, they actually thought that this was the right time to talk about piracy in football.
There is no the tone deafness of the communication teams in Italian football is, regardless of if it's the media or the clubs or the federation, they are the most tone deaf people on earth.
And the one other thing I've noticed about the Italian media is, like, have you noticed how they obviously they probably had this set up weeks ago, but then, you know, in football, this is where Italy's also been behind this one. The football media is not 1990. It's not where you write a newspaper the day before and then it will be published or it will be read the day later, and you have everything written the day before, and then the next morning everybody will read it. You know, the media has changed now. News is old in not days, not hours, not minutes, seconds. The news changes, and you have to move. And if something changes in the world, in the news, you have to change. Now, the way that Italy still works, no surprise, Italy is still stuck in the past. So they would have probably organised this weeks ago. Oh, let's get in and talk about piracy. Let's get in this guy from the police and get him to talk about it. Then this all breaks on Saturday. Now, any competent media team would look at that and say, right, let's cancel this, or let's postpone it. Ring up the guy. Let's do this in a few weeks when it's, do you know what I mean? But no, they've already booked it weeks before, so they just stick with it. And then it just becomes a lot. It just becomes a joke.
This is a breaking. Yeah, I know what you mean. I'm sorry to change the subject, but La Repubblica reporting that 3 other people have been are also in being investigated. One is Daniele Paterna, who I discussed when we discussed this. He was the VAR in Udinese Parma. Luigi Nasca, who was the VAR in Salernitana Modena on 8th of March 2025 in Serie B, but also the VAR in Inter Verona in 6th of January 24, as well as Rodolfo Di Vuolo, the assistant VAR in that same game. Those are the 3 people who, on top of Gervasoni and Rocchi, have been handed that they're being investigated for sporting fraud. So yeah, sorry. Wanted to say that. So far, it's just referees. It's just referees and
it's going to be
designators.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, great. Look, let's leave it at that. We'll be back on later in the week with a Q&A, and then listen, we'll see what happens with Iran, Italy. If something comes out of that Congress, official and important, we might do a reaction to it. And
if something happens, I don't think there will be, but
no. And then also, if Inter win the title this weekend, we'll do a reaction. And Nima will do a reaction on that as well. He's actually going to the game, so we'll have a reaction on Inter Scudetto victory, which probably will happen this weekend. I think.
I hope so. I'm going. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's leave it at that. Have a good week, everyone. Ciao, ciao.
Hey, everybody. If you enjoyed this video, then don't forget to like, share, and comment below. Let us know your thoughts. Also, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so you never miss any of our content when we upload it. It really helps us grow and bring you more stories like this. And also, don't forget to follow us on our social media for extra clips, updates, behind-the-scenes content. We have the same handle everywhere. It's @EtherFootPod. The link is in the description below. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Ciao, ciao.